Hey JJ, have you heard of ARTE? Do you know what ARTE is?
Art Bell,
ARTE
Garfunkel,
Garfunkel. There's probably an Art Johnson out there. No, ARTE.
Artie, the strongest man in the world.
Yeah, there you go. Isn't there a guy named Art that owns the Oakland Raiders?
Yeah,
Or
sure.
Las Vegas Raiders, wherever they are now. Who knows? There is a game company named ARTE, which
Art,
I did not. ARTE, a French
Art,
game company.
Arte.
Yeah, exactly. Art Vark, as Exaggerating says. No, there's a game company named Art, and they've been around for 10 years. And uh, I had never heard of this company. We got a review code in. They said, "Hey, we got our 10th anniversary. We've been putting out 10 games. We want to send you a code that kind of bundles, some of our games, not 10 games, but some of our games over the last 10 years."
Yeah.
And check it out and kind of celebrate. So
Yeah.
it's 10 years of video games from ARTE, ARTE.
Yeah.
And
I have played precisely one of the games in this trailer.
yeah, I think we've all probably heard of one or two of these games, right? And you're like, oh, I didn't realize they make actually kind of like their logo. To hell with the ugly. Never heard of this. Tried it on Steam. Freaking love this game. It's kind of this cool adventure. I had to go through bust through these real quick. I'm gonna pause this real quick.
Yeah.
Had to kind of bust through these quick just so I can understand what these games are. I'm not gonna spend like 7-8 hours each game. That's not what you do with these types of collections.
Yeah.
But How to Say Goodbye is actually a really cool puzzle game. You're kind of moving stuff along these platforms, which is pretty neat. Typewriter, which you've played.
That's the one I played.
It's very easy to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It's aesthetically cool as hell.
It's aesthetically really cool. I found myself playing a lot of Vectronom for 2019.
This looks good.
It is essentially what you are is you play this cube and you're bouncing on these platforms. And the initial few levels is just like you bounce on a straight line. And then you have to wait. Some of these platforms will drop out of the way. So you get to a couple and you wait and it pops back up and you hop across. And it's like, oh, these platforms start doing other things and there's other colors. These colors don't seem like they're important, but they end up being pretty important later. And then so you get all the way across and you're like, shit, in order to get to complete this level, I have to make my way all the way back. Okay, you make your way all the way back. It's like, oh shit, now I have to go all the way back, but I have to capture these little Pac-Man style dots. Oh, and now I have to go back and do this, and now I have to go down here. So the levels are designed really well for that type of thing.
It's like
it can get frustrating as hell though, but
like Hubert meets Marble Madness.
Yes, it's a great way to say it. And it's really cool. It's a cool little vector graphic of puzzler. Perfect on a Steam Deck. Perfect. Inwa only played this for maybe a half hour or so. It's just, again, it's another cool kind of story. Bury Me My Love. This was one that I think a lot of people have probably heard of. It's the you're communicating. It's an adventure game. You're communicating through phones and kind of messages, and it's definitely got the deeper meanings. I don't need to go into it, but definitely check it out because there's a whole refugee type of aspect to it. But really cool. Vandals. We've played these kinds of games. I'm sure you've played them on mobile platforms, right? Where you kind of go around and you kind of stop and avoid
it's Hitman Go.
Yeah. Hitman Go. Thank you. In this case, there are things like graffiti that you have to pull out. There's a few other things you have to do. It's Hitman Go, but it's a little more based on. It's a little more board game like than Hitman Go, and what happens at each of these little spots. So, but cool. I like the aesthetic. This didn't really play this, but I that's probably why, because I blew through that. Homo Machina didn't really play this all that much. I noted the interesting aesthetic. Unmaze. This one is cool because it reminds me of that. Let me back this up a little bit. You guys remember the was it Werther, the Art of Werther thing that I reviewed a few months back? Yeah. This has a lot of that feel in that it's there's a lot of art influence in this, and I really love the aesthetic of this one too because it shifts from sepia tones to black and white to painterly to solving puzzles. Art is really well known for these puzzle solving adventure style games, and that's what this collection is. Anyways, I let this collection kind of blaze through. Really cool aesthetics. These aren't giant games, but they are really interesting art house style games.
Yeah.
This one is probably since VR is probably the one that's the most like a traditional and Fisherman's Hill, but it's the most like a traditional style quote unquote game that maybe Vectorum. But anyways, a really cool collection for folks that are interested in just kind of checking out the anniversary of a company. I think this kind of stuff is a great idea. It's like, hey, pay us and we'll send you, buy this collection. You get to relive our history. It's kind of like it's not necessarily the same level as the Eclipse does, obviously, but it's a good way to say here's our bundle of our history. So
yeah, it's good
it's
for a company like this to do something like
yeah.
this because like it may have just been something that slipped past you, like who these guys are and what they're putting out. Like you may recognize a game or two, but you don't recognize ARTE as
Yep. Yeah.
as
As the
as a
publisher.
publisher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But you will keep an
that's
eye on them because you'll say, "Oh, I like this game or I like that game," and all of a sudden they're stuck in your zeitgeist. It's like a lot of the, like I said, I think it's a great way to self promote. And it's like I think it's like $30 for this collection, which seems like a lot, but it's not. I mean, when you think about all the games you're getting, I think it probably ends up being a pretty good price there, and keep an eye on sales and stuff. But it's just cool to see a company that's not the typical big AAA publisher. Like, oh shit, I didn't know they existed, but now I do. So, and the games control really well. They don't all work on the Steam Deck, and that was the issue that I was finding out. Like a lot of them are very not Steam Deck friendly, so I had to reinstall some of them on my PC. Some I could play on the Steam Deck, and that really kind of the only thing that was sort of bugging me, because I installed everything on my Steam Deck, and you get the big thing that says may not be compatible, has not been tested. I'm like, crap. All right, do it on the PC. But yeah, it's just cool to get this type of collection, and you get to try a bunch of different games. And like I said, there were a few that to bear me my love, I actually owned that on a couple platforms. Didn't know that was ARTE, that was the publisher. Vectorum I really liked, and then I had never played that was a typewriter that you mentioned, or Rider, or whatever that was.
Typewriter.
Typewriter. I never played this. Really freaking liked it.
Yeah,
I like aesthetic.
I like those. I like those kind of like momentum based. Like
yeah.
It's just a runner game, but
it's just a runner.
But
with a colon.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, cool. ARTE, thank you for sending this over. I think it's just cool to see all the different developers on here and all the different styles and great art. So great art from ARTE.